Hello. Thanks for the submission. This is looking great. I see you've gone to spline. I'm going to identify a loop here. All right. And let's take a look. So one of the things that I notice is now that you're in spline, like some of the spacing and stuff looks like a little even in this section with the feet. So I would encourage you to like go in there and really track the spacing and really try to push the timing of this kind of thing. So let me just track this to see. Oh, maybe it is still stepped in parts. I'm not sure. Or maybe that's a sync sketch frame rate thing. I'm not sure. But anyways, it feels like a little even to me, the timing on some of this stuff. So let me see. I want to give you some very specific notes. Okay, cool. So I'm going to turn on some ghosting so we can see how all that spacing compares. So yeah, this is, I think, what I'm kind of feeling when I say it's even. So like the space between these frames is fairly uniform. And I think what I want to see, what I would prefer, so let me get a different color for what I prefer, is when the foot gets picked up, there's a little bit of closeness in that spacing as it starts to like move in this direction. And then when it ends, I want to see a little bit closing in this spacing, a little closeness in this spacing here. So that, I don't know what that leaves you, how many frames it leaves you in the middle. It almost doesn't matter. If you only had one more frame, you know, you could put it in the middle here, but something else that may work is it may work being like biased a third to here as the foot picks up speed. You know what I mean? I think that's for you to kind of play around with and see how it feels for you to have the spacing be like, when I say a third, I mean if you're comparing the distance between here and here, you can either put that on the half, you could put it on the third, you could put it on the quarter, something like that. You know, if it reads like it's taking too long to move up, you could also play around with putting it on the upper third or the upper quarter, assuming that you only have like 5 frames to get this action done and hold true to your timing. So like play around with the spacing of this middle, but put one close to the start and one close to the end so we get a little sense of that ease in and ease out. And then that middle one is really for you to have fun aesthetically, right? Like play with it, see where you like it best. This is a fun like learning opportunity, I would say. But yeah, I'm feeling that on the feet when I watch it play. Like it feels a little even, and I think you could really get a nice kind of like snappier thing going on there. And I may check it out too. I want to just take a peek at where kind of like your pelvis spacing is, or the center of gravity spacing is on this character. I'm not exactly sure like where to kind of trace, but I'll just do this kind of thing. Huh, okay. Cool. I just want to see how that spacing is working. Yeah, that seems fine. That seems fine to me. It looks good. All right. One more thing that I wanted to comment on is when your character starts to lean over here, the torso and everything just kind of like pivots over together as like one kind of solid block, and I think you need to break that up. So maybe in anticipation of this, or you want to offset it, right? So maybe the bottom part stays more flat and the top of the chest starts to go, because with doing it all at once, what that's doing is it's keeping this like upper torso shape very like consistent, like there's no change in it. And what I would want to see is for this to change shape into like a bend on the way in this action. Maybe not as extreme as I've drawn it, but I want to see a shape change out of the torso and the center mass. And then if you're starting in like this kind of shape, it bends in the anticipation of this jump, and then that will give you more contrast when you go into this jump, you know, and maybe you can even push this torso shape up a little bit. So you're getting that nice like A to B to C, or this is like your anticipation. And then this is your like stretch frame, you know, like squash and stretch kind of stuff. This is kind of like your squash here. So yeah, that's just like doing a little bit more posing and shaping in the torso, because this is great. This line of action that you have going in here, like that kind of pose shape, is fantastic. So I just want to see that more in the jump part. Again, I think here there maybe is a little bit of spacing issues, because when he hits the ground here, that's great. But in the frame right before hitting the ground, it looks like he kind of slows down. You know what I'm saying? So we'll check out the spacing here with a little ghost action going on. But yeah, all this stuff needs to be worked out. I don't know if you're going to keep this in stepped. Maybe you want to keep it in stepped. Like it's more of a 2D style thing. And that's okay if you want to do that. Just make a note or let me know. But so looking at the spacing here, like here to here, it seems like fine, but here to here also, that seems very even. So wait, that's bad. There to there is fairly even, so maybe I would bias this one up a little bit, so what you're getting is a growth in movement, you know what I mean, in your spacing. And then that's like a really good growth if the other one is maybe a little bit more resolved. But then this one is a really tiny spacing, and then it gets large again, and then you have this massive one. And then if you're going to hit the ground, I think that you'll find it stronger if you don't have this one so close to the ground. So instead of this one being so close to the ground, you know, maybe find something that's more like up here, so that, you know, this spacing is growing to here, this spacing is growing all the way to the ground, like that. So it's just kind of like paying really close attention to the spacing, and how these drawings aren't going to make a ton of sense on their own. But yeah. And whatever you can do here, because this is like a really nice torso shape when you're flying through the air, I think you have an opportunity to really push this contrast maybe even a little bit more, where you get into that opposite C shape. And then yeah, I like that it's still kind of, that's another opportunity for overlap and stuff even in the torso, getting back to a C shape that's exaggerated, so that when you're on the ground, you know, like right when you hit the ground, you're in this exaggerated shape, and then when you settle, you're like flat. You know what I mean? I feel like it may be taking a few too many frames for like the feet and stuff to like hit the ground from when the torso hits the ground. Again, you really want to pay close attention to your spacing on this bounce up, like from there to there to there. It's slowing in there, that's great. But then that's a pretty big move. So the next one should probably be, let me see, if the previous one's there, I would bias it really close to that one because it's accelerating again out of that. And then if this is the ground one, again, like we were talking about, going from here to the ground. Let me see where that is again. Okay, it's right on the line. This one, you know, maybe, I don't know, just pay attention to that. I mean, it's hard, I'm getting a little lost, but pay attention to, you know, the spacing on these bounces. It's super important to make it feel great. I think you have too many frames coming down to hit the ground. Like, this feels really slow to me. So maybe you need to take out a frame here. But yeah, and then if you can, as much as you can in the timing of like how the arms bounce up and stuff, try to vary that up. So like maybe this arm is perfect, but maybe this one drags down a little bit lower. Maybe the hand gets a little bit, you know, exposed in silhouette. Like you're doing that with the feet here and the legs, and it's working great. So yeah, those are just like little suggestions and little notes as you move on this farther. Just watch out for evenness. That's the enemy. And then, yeah, there's something going on too. Sorry. But there's something going on with the way that the shoulders sync up with like the main up and down of the body here. They feel like a little bit too in sync. So I'd maybe offset the shoulders in time to be more like reactive. So as this goes up, the shoulders maybe are still coming down for a frame, you know, and then the same is true at the top of the arc. Like when this goes up and comes down, so as the pelvis starts coming down, the shoulders are still going up and are delayed by a frame, but will start coming down. Just to give a little offset there. I think it'll help make it feel like the thing that's causing the shoulders to move up and down is going to justify where that force is coming from. You know, right now they feel slightly disjointed, I would say, for like the overall action of the body. Like you're doing a lot of up and down, I see, with the pelvis, but then this controller isn't moving up and down at all. So maybe that's a way you could help kind of push or emphasize that by getting a little up and down on that. That's up to you, like which controllers you use and how you want to do it. But yeah, looking good. Keep going with this, and I look forward to seeing your submission next week. All right, thanks.